Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Nazir Nun Beis. We are holding 10 lines from the top of the Amud at the two dots, Hashidra v'Agulgolos. So Shidra v'Agulgolos, spine and skull, these are two parts of a mace which are, number one, metame, through touching, through carrying, and oihel, being in the same, under the same roof as these items. So maga, masa, and oil. Number two, and this pertains to our masechta, to our sugya, a nazir who makes contact with these sources of tumah will now have to cancel his nazirus, will have to redo everything. First he shaves, he brings karbanos, and redoes the entire nazirus. Question: Iboilu, the Bnei HaYeshiva wanted to know, Shidra vigul goylas tanan? When the Mishnah says these items, Shidra and Gulgolos, have these properties, have the ability to be matame, to trigger a new nazirus, combined, both together, combined, or one or the other. Shidra vigul goylas tanan? Oidilma oy shidra, oy gulgolos. So, does the Nazir have to come into contact with both items, Shidra and Gulgolos, or one or the other is okay? See, a person is comprised of two, main components, Roishai and Gufay, his head and his body. And these two items represent those two aspects of a person. Shidra is the spine, which supports the body, and Gulgolos is the skull, representing the head. So the question is, do we need them both together? A full representation of that mace? Or it's enough to have one or the other? Each element on its own carries that, power, that ability to be matami the nazir to this extent. Amarav Tashma, I'll try to bring you a raya. We have a brisa, a tesefta. Shidra shegireir roiv il in shaba. So we have a spine, and most of the ilin, the vertebrae, the bones were broken apart. Tahira, it's no longer going to be metame. Ube kever, but if it's sitting in a kever, that's a special halacha. The kever makes it one entity, even though it's broken apart. It's considered one. Afilu mishuberes, for records, even if it's broken or taken apart, tameya, it's still metame because mipnei kever, because it's in a kever. Taisa says the hachi gmiri. This is the halacha Sinai. Okay. So in a kever we have an exception, but otherwise, broken apart is not metame. Says the Gemara, let's make a diuk. Tama. The reason why it's no longer going to give tumah, mishum de gireid, because he cracked it up, it's broken. The shedra is no longer intact. Let's make a diuk. Halai gireid. Tmeya. Otherwise, if it's intact, if it was not gireid, it was not broken apart, it's metame. And we're speaking about just the spine. Shmamina oy shedra oy gulgolos ktani. Apparently, it's one or the other. No, halay ktani. The Mishnah didn't say that. The Brisa didn't say that explicitly. It's a diuk that you're making. Perhaps you shouldn't be making this diuk. The Brisa never meant this. Hakamashmlan. The Brisa is simply teaching us the positive aspect of this halacha. The chigire tahira. If it's broken, it's tahar. Okay. Otherwise, if it's intact, we're not sure. Idach, if it's not broken, if it's intact, but it's just a shedra, tiboilach, we could still have that question. So the question is whether shidra needs gulgolos, it's both together, or one or the other. Toshma, here's another attempt at the raya. We have a brisa, a tesefta, which says like this: Rabbi Yehuda Omer, there were 6 items of contention between Rabbi Akiva and Chachamim. Shisha dvarim, the following 6 items. Rabbi Akiva matame, Rabbi Akiva applies tumah to them. Chachamim metarin, Chachamim don't. V'chazabai Rabbi Akiva. In fact, Rabbi Akiva reverted. He conceded to the Chachamim. He agreed that it is no longer metame. One of these items involved bones, chatzikav bones, that comes from 2 mace. I'm going to see soon. In fact, it was a story linked to that halacha, umasa sheviu kupa malei atzomis lebeis hakneses. They brought a whole container with bones to the shul of the shel tarsim, of the copper miners. V'nichu ba'avir, and they left it under the open sky so that it's not inside an oil and matame the people around it. And they came to examine it. V'nichnas Toidas Arefa, a famous doctor, Toidas Arefa, mentioned in Chulin and elsewhere, he came in to check the bones. Together with all the other doctors, and they concluded, based on their examination, you don't have a full spine worth of bones originating from one mace. It's just a hodgepodge. It's not coming from one mace. And therefore it's not metame, as we're going to see in a minute. Bottom line is, says the Gemara, Tama de leka shedra de mechada. Apparently, you're only safe because there isn't any single whole shedra coming from one mace. But apparently, ha'ika, but if there would be a shedra or a spine, or a full skull de mechada, just from one nazir, from one mace, then it would give to him a nazir megaleich aleha. It would have the same effect on the nazir when he touches this. Shema mina, isn't this a right to our question? That it's one or the other? Right? The whole issue here was that it wasn't coming from one mace, it was a collection, it was an assortment. Apparently, if it was coming from one mace, it would be metami, even though it's just a shidra. The answer is no. Needless to say, meaning like this. They were just trying to make a point. It goes without saying, you don't even have a shidra or a golgolas coming from one mace. Right? Sorry, you certainly don't have a shidra and a golgolas coming from one mace. That's obvious, right? That was like, an assumption. That was just a basic notion. You certainly don't have a shidra and a golgolas together here, coming from one mace. But even, they were trying to make even a greater point. You don't even have just a shidra from a mace, or just a golgolas from a mace. You don't even have that. Based on their examination, they concluded, you don't even get to first base. You don't even have a shedra coming from a mace, or a golgolas coming from one mace. Just an assortment from many. So therefore, there's nothing to work with. But perhaps, halachically speaking, even if it were so that there was one complete shedra from one mace, it would still not be matai, because you need both aspects. You need the guf and the reish, the shred and the golgolas. So we're not sure. Tashma, here's another attempt at a raya. Mi min yana. Let's go back to this brisa. 6 things were subject to machlekes. What are those 6 things? Let's take a look at the list. Umahin shisha dvarim. What are those 6? Sherakiva matame, v'chacham mataran, which was up for machlekes. Number 1, aleiver mena mace. You have a limb from a mace. Shaba mishnei mason, which isn't really coming from one mace. You have a sort of a foot, half from one mace, half from the other mace. Can you combine that? Next case. You have an aver coming from a living person, detached from a living person, but again, half of it is from one person, half from the other person. Is it metame? Next question. Is a half a kav of bones, which hails from 2 mason. Next case. Dam, which has the ability to be metame, but the problem is, it's haba mishnayim, it's coming from 2 mason. You have a bone chip the size of a barley kernel, which is a shear, but it's no longer one. It's been split into 2. Next, vashidra, a spine, a skull, which came from 2 mason. So you have a shidra coming from 2 mason, or golgolas from 2 mason. All these. Rabbi Kiva was matame, chachamim were matar. Rabbi Kiva was chayzer and was matar as well. Now, if we go through the list, we'll find more than 6. If you're going to tell me that you don't need that combined set of Shidra v'Gilgelis, it's either or, either the Shidra or the Gilgelis, Hani Shiva Havyan. So you have a total of 7 cases in the Mishnah. Ever Menames, Ever Menachai, Chatzikav Atzomis, Revi Yizdam, Etzek V'Sa'ira. Then you have Shidra separate and Gilgelis separate. Each one independent of the other is Metame. So it would seem from this diuk that it's a set. And that's why you only have 6 cases in the Bryce. No, says the Gemara Kiktani, perhaps you have 7, but in terms of the enumeration, in terms of the number 6, it's not referring to one of these items for whatever reason. We're going to have 3-4 reasons why perhaps something mentioned here does not qualify to be included in the number 6. But really there are 7 items, because Shidra is separate from Gilgelis. So number 1 says the Gemara Kiktani Kalecha de Pliga le Rabim. In the number 6, we only included cases where Rabbi Kiva was argued upon by the multitudes, by the Rabbim. Lafuki etzem kisera the yachadu the palagli, as opposed to the case of the bone chip which was split. The Rabbim did not take issue with Rabbi Kiva's shita. It was just a yachid. So that's not what the number 6 is referring to. It's not included in 6. It's not, as we have in the Mishnah, well, it was only a yachid who was chaylik on Rabbi Kiva. Etzem kisera shnechel krishnayim. A bone chip split into 2. Rabbi Kiva says Metami. Rabbi Yehuda ben Nuri, he's the Yachid. He's Metar. So therefore it doesn't belong on the list. Next pshat. Another approach would be Kiktani. We only include in the number Ever min hames. Only mace related materials. But Ever min achai, like Tani, it's not included in the list. Another pshat. Kiktani, what's included? Kalecha de Nazir megalech ala heloi. Only a tumah phenomenon which trigger a giluach on the Nazir by getting involved even through tumas oil. Meaning we're only speaking about things that can transmit through the tumas oil. Lafuki etzem kisa'ira delay, as opposed to the bone chip, which could only be matame through touching and carrying. Maga and masa, not oil, so it's not included. It's not a severe matame. That's not on our list. If you say another pshat, kiktani, what's included in the list? Kalecha de hadarbe, only those items on which Rabbi Kiva conceded when he was chayzeh to the chachamim. Lafuki revi'is dam del hadarbe, as opposed to one item on the list, the revi'is dam coming from Shtu Mesim, that he never conceded about. He held his own. He maintained his shita. As Rabbi tells Bakapar, don't include the Revi'is Dam in the list of items on which Rabbi Kiva conceded. No, Shari Limudai Shal Rabbi Kiva biyad, because he was still going and teaching his shita. He never conceded. Not only that, HaMikra Messiah. Take a look at the psukim. The pasuk supports his shita. Val called nafshois meis layav. We had this the other day. Nafshois lashon ravim. Something coming from 2 nefashos. Dam, originating from 2 mesim, can also be metame. The Nazir and bring about tiglachas. So bottom line is, we have a brisa listing 6 cases subject to machlokes. Rabbi Kiva matame, chachamim matar. Rabbi Kiva was chayzer. Problem was, if Shidra is separate from Gilgelis, if each one independently is Matami, then we have 7. So the Gemara gave us 4 options to deduct something from the list. So perhaps Shidra is separate from Gilgelis. But it's not going to be a total of 7 because he takes something else off the list. Rabbi Shimon Omer, continuing on the topic of Rabbi Kiva maintaining his shita with the Dam of Shnei Mesim, he says, Ad Yamav Matame, throughout his lifetime, until he passed away, he maintained that shita, it's Matame. Imish Shemeis, Chazar by any day. I'm not sure whether he changed his mind after he passed away, which was obviously less than respectful comment. And Reb Shimon regretted saying these words. Tana, we learned in the Brisa, Hushchuru Shunav Tani Yosef. Reb Shimon was so remorseful that he fasted, and his teeth actually blackened as a result, in order to atone for saying this sort of disrespectful comment in reference to Rekiva. Hushchuru Shinav and Tani Yosef. Okay, Tashma. Here comes another attempt to prove, to clarify one way or the other. Again, the question was, the Mishnah mentions Shidra and Gilgolis as things that are metame. Is it both together, or is it one independent of the other? Tashma, the Sanya, we have a Bryce. B'Shama Oimrim. We know that a Reva Atzomes, a quarter of a kav, right, this quantity, is metame b'maga, b'mas, and b'oil. What type of bones are we speaking about? Obviously from the mace, right? But which part of the mace? Anywhere, or a specific type of bone, a more prominent bone? Let's see. B'Shama Oimrim Reva Atzomes. The Reva Atzomes can be anything. Mina Atzomim. Even if it's just from, a sampling of the bones there. Even 2 or 3 bones. A small number of bones, but if they measure up to a kav, it qualifies. No, it needs to be a prominent representation of the mace. Reva min agvia, it needs to be a reva kav of bones coming from the entire, representing the skeleton, the person. Mireva binyan, mireva minyan, coming from most of his build, which the Gemara says is 2 thighs and a foot, or 2 feet and a thigh. Or Roiv HaMinyan, coming from most of his count. So 125 bones is most of the count out of 248. So if the Roiv HaTzomes hail from those 125, a little of a sampling of the 125, a chip of each one of those 125, for a total of a Roiv HaKav. So this is a chosh of a representation, a chosh of a sampling, and it's metame be'oil. Beishamai don't insist on having a solid representation of the goof, as long as it's anything. Bones, Roiv HaKav is metame. Even 2-3 bones, if it's large-sized bones, Roiv HaKav is metame. I'm going to be sure, not necessarily. You know what? I want to mitigate the machlekas. I want to actually bring together 2 shittas. Yecholni lasos divrei Beishamai v'divrei Beisil ke'echad. I can sort of combine the shittas and take away any machlekas. They're both, in line with each other. We're saying the same thing. How could that be? Although Beishamai seem to tell us that the bones don't have to be any, specific, coming from a specific location. Even Mishnayim or Mishloisha, 2 or 3 bones. You know what they meant? Most of his build. Just like Beis Hillel said. How do you get 2 or 3 bones representing a person? So 3 can work. 2 is sort of like it's just like an add-on number, but he meant specifically 3. Either 2 shekayim, 2 upper area of the leg, v'yerech echad, and 1 thigh, or 2 thighs and 1 shake. And Chachamim determined that this is considered Roiv Binyan, most of his skeletal build. It's most of his height. So according to Beis Shammai, you also need Roiv Binyan, just like Beis Hillel said. Beis Hillel just came to add that it needs to be most of his build, or there's another option, most of the, in terms of numbers, if it was taken from most of the bones in the body, that's also metami. Min agvia, it has to represent the skeleton, the person. Oy miroiv binyan, most of his build. Oy miroiv minyan, or coming from most of the bones. Hoyel v'yeshnan b'mifrake yadayim raglaim. How can you have roiv minyan without roiv binyan? Very simply, in the hands and feet, you have very small, mini-sized bones. Many joints and teeny bones. So you can actually have a roiv atzam is coming from, piece of sampling of the 125 bones. I'm not speaking about all of them, because then you'll get a really large quantity. You'll have more than Reva. So a little piece of each one of the 125, but you still won't have Rev Binyan, most of the skeleton, because hands and feet don't comprise the build of the person. So they were just adding the Rev Minyan aspect. But Rev Binyan, perhaps even Beis Shammai agree, is a required precondition for Reva Atzomes being metame. So we have Beis Shammai, we have Beis Hillel, whether it's machlekes or not. That's up for discussion. But now we have a third shita, which is certainly another shita. Shammai himself, the leader of Beis Shammai, He had his own opinion. Shami Omer, afilu etzem echad. You can have one bone. If it has the shiur of roya hakav, it's metame. Afilu etzem, right? Provided it's a prominent bone. It comes from where? From one's main, main part. Min hashidra, oy min hagulgoles. So if there's an etzem from the shidra or gulgoles, the most prominent parts of a person, it's metame b'maga b'masa b'oil if it has a roya hakav. That's a chiddush. Okay, so the Gemara understood at this point. This is certainly a new shita. We aren't necessarily going along with that shita, but to a certain extent we will agree to Shammai that shidra is important, that Gilgolos has prominence regarding Tumah. So if, according to Shammai, even just one bone hailing from the shidra, or one bone, large-sized bone hailing from the Gilgolos is metame b'oil, we will agree somewhat to Shammai that, okay, not one bone, but the entire shidra and the entire Gilgolos are prominent enough to be metame b'oil. So apparently you don't need that set of shidra Gilgolos. One or the other is enough. Says the Gemara, no, you can't bring it right from Shammai. Shani Shammai, the machmer tfei. You can't prove anything from Shammai. Perhaps Shammai is a very machmer. Number one, he says, shidra alone has the ability to be metame without the Gilgolos. Number two, even just one bone from the shidra, which is a reva kav in size, is metame. And perhaps we disagree on both accounts. You need one bone is not metame, and even the entire shidra is not metame unless it has the Gilgolos together with it. So there's no raya from Shammai. Says the Gemara, okay, fine, I'll accept that. So then bring a raya the other way. Livshat mina, we can prove as follows. We can prove that according to Chachamim, you need both shidra and Gilgolos. Tamra de Shammai, the Bach takes out the word Beis Shammai. It's Shammai himself that we're speaking about. Tamra de Shammai, the machmer. It's only Shammai who says, even just one shidra or Gilgolos, even a part of them is metame, because he's machmer. Harabbanan, according to Rabbanan, no. You need both together. Adi ika shidra Gilgolos. So the Gemara, no, who says? Who says that the Chachamim are arguing to that extent? Ad kan lepligi Rabbanan le de Shammai, ele betzem echad. Perhaps the Chachamim are arguing with Shammai regarding one bone, the asim na shidra, uma na Gilgolos, a bone coming from the shidra or the Gilgolos. They disagree with Shammai. It can't be metame. But when you have the shidra intact or the Gilgolos intact, perhaps you don't need them both together. Even one alone is enough. So we're not sure how to conclude on this shaila. So bottom line is, we started with a shaila, we didn't really conclude. The Mishnah speaks about the shidra and the Gilgolos being metame, the Nazir, both together or each one separately. We're not sure. Here comes another shaila. Certainly we know that shidra and Gilgolos have extra prominence, as we explained before. Right? So now, the Mishnah, in speaking about, bones in general being metame the Nazir, and triggering teglachas, etc., the Mishnah gives us a shear of a chatzi kav, which is a larger quantity than a roiva hakav, a half a kav. Only that has the ability to trigger the teglachas Nazir. But we all know that even a roiva hakav, a quarter of a kav of bones, is metame b'oil. But in terms of the Nazir, it only has that effect when it's a half a kav. What about if it's a quarter a kav, but it's very important bones? It's coming from the shidra or the Gilgolos. Does that qualitative advantage compensate for the quantitative deficiency? Boy Rami Barcham, roiva atzomis. You have a quarter kav of bones coming from where? Min shidra of Gilgolos. What would you say here? Kiktani chatzi kav atzomis. When does the Mishnah insist on a half a kav of bones? Ordinary bones. It's coming from the other limbs. But coming from the shidra Gilgolos, which are more chamer, right? They have more prominence. Perhaps even a quarter kav from these areas are matami. Idilma, or perhaps loishna, there's no difference. Half a kav is a half a kav. Amarava tashma, I'll prove from the Mishnah, which says hashidra v'hagul goylas, spine and skull. Now, he's assuming that they have a roiva a kav. You know, a shidra has a roiva kav. It's usually not smaller than a roiva kav. Same thing with gulgolas. It's a skull, it automatically has a roiva hakav. The more say later will change that, but that's the working notion right now. Hashidra v'gulgolas. V'isa g'daydach roiva atzamis. D'osu min shidra v'gulgolas. Chamir. If you're going to suggest that a quarter kav coming from these areas stand higher, are more prominent, are more severe, are more matami, so why does the Mishnah have to insist on a full skull? Listen, al roiva atzamis, how about a shidra? V'gulgolas. The Mishnah should teach us a greater chiddush. You don't need a full skull, which is, a roiva atzamis or more. Just a roiva atzamis from the skull, if in fact it has the same level of tumah. Answers the Gemara, no, but you can have a skull without a roiva atzamis, and that's the chiddush of the Mishnah. Even if it's less than the quantity of roiva, but if it's a full skull, it's mitami. That's the point of the Mishnah. But Rav Adama, didn't Rav himself tell us le'nitzrucha that it's only needed that l'shidru g'goylas she'ein bo roiva atzamis? The chiddush of the Mishnah is that a spine or a skull, even smaller than a roiva, is mitami. So that's why the Mishnah mentioned that. It's a chiddush, even if it's less than a roiva. So how can it bring a raya from our Mishnah to our shaila? Right, the shaila was a roiva coming from a shidra. Is it mitami? And his answer was, well, if it is, then the Mishnah wouldn't say shidra v'gulgolas. Mishnah would say roiva from shidra v'gulgolas, assuming that a shidra and gulgolas are certainly a roiva kav or more. The answer is no. Sometimes you can have a shidra which is less than a roiva, and that's the chiddush of the Mishnah. So why did he bring a raya from the Mishnah? Basar d'shamam Rabbi Kiva. When Rabbi said that a shidra gulgolas can have less than the roiva, that was something that he heard later from Rabbi Kiva. The Tosfos changes it perhaps to Mar Ukva. Whatever it is something that he arrived at later. He didn't have that information before, so he thought there was going to be a raya from the Mishnah. But now we see there's no raya because the Mishnah is highlighting another chiddush. Perhaps a roiva coming from a shidra is mitami, but what about if it's a shidra without a roiva? That also is mitami. That's the chiddush of the Mishnah. Tashma, here comes another raya. The brayso that we mentioned before. Shammai Eimer. So what does Shammai tell us? Etzem echad min shidra u'megulgolas, even one bone, if it hails from the shidra or the gulgolas, it's mitami, provided that it has the shear of roiva kav. The Gemara is figuring at this point, even the Chachamim, who disagree, one bone, that's not enough. But if it's a collection of bones, it's mitami, provided that it has a roiva hakav in quantity, because it's coming from the shidra of the gulgolas, and they're more prominent. And therefore it's mitame. Typically you need a chatzikav, but here a roiva is enough. Let's try to, minimize the gap in terms of the opinions. Shammai is machmer, even one bone. They hold a collection of bones, but ultimately if it's a roiva hakav, it's mitame because it's coming from the shidra gulgolas, which are extra prominent. So the Gemara, no, you can't draw anything from Shammai to the Chacham. Shammai the machmer tfei. Shammai is very machmer. So perhaps the Chachamim would totally disagree. Even shidra material, even gulgolas material is not mitame, provided it's less than a chatzikav. You need a chatzikav. So they went, okay, let's prove it that way. Livshat mina. Let's prove from here that in fact a chatzikav is required. Tama the Shammai, the machmer, only Shammai who is machmer is mitami with less. Holy Rabban, but according to Rabban, you're right. Adika chatzikav atzamis. You need a half a kav, even though it's shidra material or gulgolas material. So no, let's go back. Dilma, perhaps not. Adkan le pliga Rabban le the Shammai. Plus Rabban only disagreeing with Shammai because it's one bone. But if it's a collection of bones, important material coming from shidra gulgolas. I feel the Rabbanan might do, even the Rabbanan perhaps would agree that it's mitame. So basically, we're leaving it up in the air. We have no raya one way or the other. Again, the question was, typically a chatzikav triggers the teglachas of the Nazir. What about a quarter kav, but it's coming from the shidra, v'gulgolas? Does that compensate for the lack of quantity or not? We're not sure. Okay, let's recap today's daf. The Mishnah mentioned Shidra Gilgolis is Metame Maga B'Maso B'Oil, and the Nazir is Megalech upon encountering these items. The question was, understand Shidra is important and Gilgolis is important. They represent the most prominent, parts of the person, the head, the body. Question: is it only Metame if it's together as a set, or each one independently has that ability? We tried to bring many rayas, and ultimately we did not conclude on that question. Regarding the halacha of bones in general, so typically a roiva atzames, roiva kav is metame, but when it comes to the glachas nazir, chatzi kav. There's a question of where it's meant to come from. Is it dafka from Rav Binyan or Rav Minyan, or even, etzem echad, 2 or 3 bones, or the etzem from the shidduch gilgolis, according to Shammai. We have 3 shittas there. And then Rami Chachamim wanted to know, according to the Chachamim, what about a roiva hakav, bones coming from the shidduch gilgolis? Perhaps that added chashivas will give it tumah, even though it's just a roiva hakav. We tried to bring some rayas, and ultimately we left it up in the air. Okay, Atzlacha Rabba to you. Let's have a lot of Siyat L'Shmaya Bez Hashem and B'suras Tevis.